We're going to get started in just a second here with our live training for how to find contracting officers that love 8A small businesses. Make sure you go check out our website, right? www.govconchamber.com. All sorts of free stuff on there. You can go through, you can explore, scrolling down here, and you can see what's going on our homepage. We've got several resources that are out there, as well as a lot of learning activity, a lot of blogs, et cetera. So here's an example of something, a focus on women's small businesses. And so we try to put together content that we have that's related. And so here we're talking about women-owned small businesses and what you can do to kind of increase. And on here, you find a lot of good content. And then here, I think it's like 12 trainings, 10 or 12 trainings at least that we have that are focused on women-owned small businesses and how you can succeed. We've done this in multiple different areas for small businesses at different levels. So go check out the website. That's my tip for the day is check out our govconchamber.com website, and you'll find all sorts of free content. I put a ton on LinkedIn. I do a ton on video live here, but then we have so much else that we want to share over the last 5 years. We keep trying to make sure we're sharing information that helps you succeed, and you'll find a lot in there on govconchamber.com. Okay, so we're going to dive into how to find contracting officers that love 8A small businesses. Let me just get my ducks in a row, and I'm going to share my screen again. So let me just come here. So by the way, if you don't know, in the government, we say contracting officers, and we often say CO or KO. KO is the way we say contracting officer in the military because CO stands for commanding officer. But basically, they're interchangeable. Contracting officer is CO or KO. If you want success in the federal market, you can't just walk into a contracting shop and start yelling, right? Show me the money. If you're not familiar with this picture here, it's from a movie called Jerry Maguire. And this guy is Jerry Maguire. He's a sports agent, and he represents all sorts of athletes, but he just lost them all because of something going on in the movie. And he's got one left, and the one person is with him. The one football player is like, oh, I bet you love me now. And Jerry is yelling into the phone what this guy wanted him to say. It's like, show me the money. But sometimes I feel like maybe that's how we think we should be approaching contracting officers. And that's not quite the best path for success, to walk into a contracting shop or pick up the phone or whatever and say, show me the money. It's not going to happen. Obviously, we want more opportunities, right? Obviously, as 8A small businesses, we want direct awards. There's a ton of them, and we'll talk about that in a minute. We want that, but people buy from those they know, like, and trust. And so part of the reason for this training about finding contracting officers that already love 8A small businesses is that you can, when you reach out to them, they'll take your call. They'll want to meet with you, and they'll begin to build that or go down that journey of them knowing you and liking you and trusting you. But it all begins with just making sure you're calling the right people. And we'll talk more about that in today's training. So today's training, I'm going to cover down on 3 ways or 3 bullets for today's training. First thing is why it's important that you pay attention to contracting officers that love your business, your type of business. This training is specific to 8A small businesses, but the reality is just interchange HUBZone or woman-owned small business or SDVOB. It's the same process. I'm just focusing on 8A small businesses in today's training. The second thing I want to talk about is what is that criteria? When I say find contracting officers that love 8A small businesses, well, how do you define love? What's the criteria? I'm going to tell you what that is and why you want to pay attention to that. And then I'm going to show you, I really want to show you how to go in and find these contracting officers, their names and numbers and emails. So this is real world training. Get ready to take notes as we go forward, but how you can use SAM and FPDS, a little bit of USA spending, but mostly SAM and FPDS for your training. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonnell. I'm the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, and I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. I spent 20 years as a small business owner in the federal market, and since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret. It's a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results, and that's what I want for you in your business. I want you to have predictable results. I want you to look to 2024 and know that you can have the success that you're planning for. Okay, if you haven't been here before, I move at a fire hose pace. Feel free to slow it down to half speed another day when you watch the replay. But right now, let's get started to understanding why it's important for contracting officers to love you and your type of business. Why it's important for you to find those type of contracting officers. The biggest reason, and I don't know if I put it here, is it saves you time. It makes sure you're not wasting their time, but especially you're not wasting your time. So that's the number one reason. If you focus on people who actually love you and not love you compared to those that don't love you, then you'll be spending your time wisely. So one of the reasons it's important to work with contracting officers who love your small business program, right? Today we're talking about the 8A program, but we could again be talking about the Woman-Owned Small Business Program, the HUBZone Small Business Program, the Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Program, or we could also be talking about, you can interchange this with contract vehicles, right? Get to know the contracting officers who love 8A Stars 3. There's all sorts of them who not only don't use it, but they don't love it. The way you know they don't love it is they haven't been trained to use the 8A contract vehicle. So it's the same thing with the 8A program, right? You want to work with people who already love you, and I'll demonstrate how you define that criteria, because they understand the program. I've been in this business long enough and been surprised enough to run into contracting officers who are just pretty much clueless about the 8A program and using it in their contracting shop, right? So it sounds surprising, but the facts just lay out the reality of the situation. The second reason why it's important to work with KOs that love you is that they already know how to work with the SBA's business opportunity specialists, and they do that interest letter, and they know how to push things to an 8A small business, to an 8A small business, right? So they understand the process of working with the 8A and the SBA to get things going. The third thing is that I believe that when somebody is already working with you, then they're demonstrating they already believe in the value of 8A small businesses to their agency's mission, right? If they didn't think 8A small businesses could help with the mission, there's no way they would work with you. They're not just going to give contracts. Oh, you're an 8A. I just want to give contracts all day long. No, they go that path after they first clarify or validate that your company can help their agency internal users address the mission. So they believe in the value of 8A small businesses and the 8A small business program already. You don't have to convince them. There's this great line that says, don't try to get people to believe what you believe. Work with people and find people who already believe it. Why should you convince people when there's all sorts of people out there who already believe it? That's what you want to be doing, is finding contracting officers who already believe in your company's value to the agency mission. The next reason it's important to work with contracting officers that already love 8A firms is that they know how to drive contracts and awards to a direct award, right? So it's one thing to have an opportunity come out and they put it out full and open, or maybe set it aside small. It's another to set it aside down to 8A, but it's another to go direct award. And really, that's a skill set contracting officers have to learn. They have to be trained up on this. They have to get experience on it. And so working with contracting officers who already love you, next slide, you'll see the criteria, then it makes it easier if you have an opportunity that can go to direct award, that these people know the process. You don't have to teach them. They don't have to walk around and wonder, et cetera. You're working with people who already know how to do this. And then just going in a couple others, right, that I already said. You don't have to teach them on how to do their job. They do it over and over again. And you don't have to teach them to be a fan of your company, because they already are. They're demonstrating that. So how do we know a contracting officer loves 8A small businesses, right? I keep saying loves you. And as I say it here, it feels a little awkward. But when I say loves you, I mean loves 8A small businesses, right? And so here's the criteria that I define for whether a contracting officer loves 8A small businesses. First thing is that they've already awarded sole source or direct award contracts to 8As, right? If they've done that, they love you. They already believe in that process, and they're doing that. In FY 2022, there was 16,000 contracts like this. And that's from USA Spending, right? If I just pop into USA Spending and I look at contracts, FY22 and sole source 8A, 16,521 contracts. Who these contracting officers are is what we want to know, right? That's what I mean when I say, let's go find those contracting officers that love 8A small businesses. Well, we know there's a lot. Now, who are they? Well, I'll show you that in the training in a minute. The second thing is that they've awarded 8A competitive contracts. If you go in and look at SAM or FPDS, you'll see that these contracting officers are running contracts that have been awarded as a set aside to 8A. There's 2,200. And that number is a little staggering, but it comes from USA spending as well. Far more direct awards than there were set-asides, but there was 2,200. That's a lot. When you think about how many contracting officers that is, I would bet on average the most a contracting officer would do an 8A set-aside would be, let's say, 5 in a year. Might be a lot more, but I doubt it, right? When you really think about it across the board. And so the potential of you finding several hundred contracting officers who already are awarding to 8A as a competitive, or maybe several thousand who are doing it as a direct award. It's a very real pool of people, right? Another reason that you can define or identify contracting officers that love small businesses, 8A small businesses, is that they have RFPs that are set aside for 8As. If I go into SAM right now, I can just look at anything that's set aside to 8As, and I'm finding a contracting officer that loves 8As. Right? This is my loose interpretation of how do you find the contracting officers that love 8As. These ones are already doing it. I don't have to convince them of the value of setting something aside to 8A. So I want to reach out and talk to them. I want to build a relationship. I don't want to just get in there and say, show me the money, right? I want to get in there and introduce myself and, show me the process. I want to know the process to succeed with you and your contracting shop in your agency. But people who have RFIs and sources sought, same thing, right? You can look at the current sources sought and RFIs that are open, or look at expired, and we'll show you that in a minute. But all I have to do is look at those, and I will find a pool of people who already believe in 8A small businesses. And so when you think about the fact that there's several 100,000 buyers out there in the federal market, right? DoD has 185,000 acquisition professionals alone, right? Just that one department. So when you think about several hundred contracting officers or acquisition personnel, market researchers, et cetera, related to the acquisition, you want to narrow your energy down to the contracting officers who love 8A small businesses. And the way you do it is by what I just laid out here in the criteria. And I'm going to show you how to do that here in a second. So let's talk about SAM and FPDS, because that's the tools. Those are the tools you use to find this. I want to pause for 1 second because my training, I get people who are advanced in 20, 30, $40 million companies and people who are newer in, and I never want to run past the people who just got here. They're very good at what they do, but maybe they don't know the systems as well. We take 2 seconds to show it to them. So first off, System for Award Management, we only call it SAM.gov, but that has upcoming contracts that are out there. It has contracts that have been awarded, and I say some because not everything has to go through SAM. I'm not here to explain why, but a lot of stuff is kept in other areas and the data doesn't even come in here, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. And then SAM has other notices. And one of the things I like that SAM has that no one else has is it has helpful documentation. And what I mean by that is performance work statements or full out RFP documentation. So they have those files attached to their items within SAM so that you can do more research, et cetera. The second tool we're going to look at is Federal Procurement Data System. It's just FPDS. We never say the words, right? We just say SAM.gov and FPDS. But the thing you want to pay attention to FPDS is it pretty much has all the awards, right? Those ones I said aren't in SAM, pretty much everything comes into FPDS. Yes, there's some stuff that's not in there, some intelligence community side stuff, et cetera. But for the most part, for most of us, the contracts that are over $10,000 in value, so simplified acquisition and above, or excuse me, micro purchase threshold and above, is what's in there. Plus every single modification, including a bunch of zeros, just is what it is. But all the contracts pretty much that you want to find are in there, including things like vehicles, BPAs, IDIQs, et cetera. One thing that FPDS does not have is our files. That, that'd be helpful, but it is what it is. So I'm going to show you the 2 places I find people within these two tools. So let me just start with SAM, and hopefully this will all work the way I envision. By the way, if you're an 8A, can you do me a favor? Just put it into the chat. Let people know that you're an 8A really quick as I'm transitioning into SAM. So going into SAM, I'm sorry, you can also let folks know that you're a woman-owned small business or SDVO, some of those others, but I especially am trying to find 8A firms that other people can meet. But so going into SAM.gov, you go to search, and I'm going to go really fast, so later on slow it down and watch it. But when I want to search for contracting officers that love 8As, there's many ways, but I'm going to show you just a couple so I make sure I touch SAM and FPDS in the next 13 minutes or so, because I end at 12:30. All right, so the first thing I want to do is click on this all domains and say I want to see contract opportunities. And then I'm going to scroll down and you start getting fancy with your searches, right? So one of the things I might look for is I'm going to say sources. Let me just look here and I'm just going to say sources sought as an example. And down here you see active or inactive. Active means active's a weird thing. Basically, it means maybe the response still is due, but sometimes the inactive date that people put in, the buyers put into the system, leave it active even though it's been responded to in months past. But inactive is stuff that's already been done, right? So active has inactive and active stuff in it. Inactive has just inactive stuff in it. It's crazy, but it doesn't matter. So my point is, at the moment I'm looking at active, but then I can go back and look at them both. In fact, let me just do them both so you can see it. So I want to say set aside, and I'm going to say show me 8 days set aside, right? Let's just say with 8 days set aside for 1 second. And then the other thing I want to do is I want to filter this down. So just showing you there's 3,400 results, right? I want to begin to filter that down. And let me show you, because I'm moving pretty fast. Let me zoom in for those of you really trying to track here, right? I'm just coming in and I'm saying, show me contract opportunities. The next thing I'm saying I want to see, let me scroll up, is the notice types I want to see are sources sought. The set aside is 8 day set aside, and I just said active or inactive because I'm going to give it a period of time where I say the response date is, let's say, custom date, right? I'm going to say here, what month be? I'm just going to say 5/1/2023, and hopefully this will work. Just saying, 10/1/2023. And let me zoom out because I can't even see what I got here. And I hit tab. And when I do, now I went from 3,400 opportunities down to 90, right? I don't want to go too far into this, but the next thing I might do is I might say, well, let me find it for a particular agency. So I work with customers, one-on-one with customers in the past in our workshop. And when I support them building a target list of people to go in and talk to, it begins in this way. So I might look at HHS and say, let me go find all the contracting officers in HHS who love 8 days, right? That's who I want to pursue. But this is just RFIs in the last, 4 or 5 months or something. And so I got 90 of them that I can pursue. I can change this information from where I said I wanted sources sought, right? I can get rid of that guy. And I can come here and I say, I'm looking for solicitations, or excuse me, not solicitations, award notice, right? Let me get rid of solicitation. So I want to look at award notices, and let me get rid of the dates on this guy. Anytime. So now I'm looking at 900 results, right? If I was doing this further, I might go in and say, let me see if I can find anybody who is in my NAICS. I get a little confused here. There, NAICS code 541511. Let's just take that guy for 500. Okay, so now I just searched and I said, show me any contracts that were awarded to 8 days in here that are set aside to 8 days and that were awarded. So anyways, so the way I can go in and start looking at it, let me just see if I find anything that looks, it's funny, that's kind of a wrong one. Here we go, main information technology services with the Army. I'm gonna click on this and I'll just show you this one because I'm tracking my time. I tend to like to talk. So here I can see the agency that it's at, but what I'm really looking for is right here. So right down here, I can see where we're at. I know who this is, right, under ACC. And here are 2 people who are contracting officers. So I have the name and I have the email address of 2 people related to a contract that was awarded to 8 days set aside, right? Next thing I would do is go find a phone number because I always like starting with a phone call when I do outreach. Leave a voicemail, wait a couple hours, and then send an email. Don't blast, don't spam. You want to actually say, hey, I was looking at this, but I'd like to just introduce ourselves. But you can see right here, right? I did a quick search and I can begin to refine that a lot more. Let me change this to FPDS and do something similar over there. Right, so over here, by the way, when I come into fpds.gov, I just hit enter on that browser screen and I come here. So in here, I click on advanced search and I'm looking for a couple of things. I'm going to say I want a new search, click add. And one of the things I want is I don't know if it's type. Let me zoom in a little bit. Oh, I lost it. So there's type and set aside. There it is. I lost it. Type and set aside. So here I can say 8A, right? And so the first thing I want to do is just to make sure I'm finding 8As, right? So I always grab this, and then I'm going to click on view. And all I'm looking for here, I don't care about the details at the moment, 1995. I just want to make sure what I was looking for came up the right way. This is too old, actually. Hold on one second. By the way, you saw me copy that thing. Sometimes you have to do that so you can get back to your search results fast. So let me pick something that's a little more recent and it has some money. Look at all these zeros, right? This is why FPDS kind of is. Okay, so let me change the next thing really quick. I'm going to refine this search. I'm going to add this. I'm going to say action obligations. And I want this guy to be, let's just call it 100,000 to 1 billion, I think is what I just did. There we go. And so now October 23, let me grab this search. I always copy my search term to make sure I don't lose it. If I come in here and click view, first thing I want to do is to scroll to the bottom just to make sure I'm doing my search right. And you see right here, I am. The set asides I'm looking for was 8A sole source. I could have done 8A competitive, etc. And so if I come back up here, this is how I find the contracting officer. Right there is Danielle Wilcox from FEMA. I can see it. This person is a FEMA. Generally, this is a contracting officer, a contract specialist, somebody who's putting it in. I can also then try to reverse engineer the whole process by taking some of this reference IDs, right? This is not today a deep dive into FPDS or SAM, but you can take these IDs and go back out into SAM, or you just go to the internet and search. Let me take this as an example really quick. If I take that, and I don't know if this will work, but it'll be fun to see. Well, see the problem with this right there, you see the way it's all together. FPDS gets rid of dashes and things like that, but the way the number is in SAM tends to have, like, let's say a dash between 70 and FBL or whatever, right? And so you want to learn that pattern. That's you learning how to use the tool. But what I want to point out in particular, right, is that when I come in here, I can see these people. Here's, it's FEMA, and it's down there at the New Orleans contracting shop. So I can see where this is being done, by the way, and I can see the person. So if I'm talking about trying to find contracting officers that love 8As, this is a quick, easy way for me to do it. Something else you can do as you go forward on, let me close this and go back one more time on the search. Control A, B. Oh, I got rid of my search. Oh, well. That's funny. This search thing on FPDS, I don't like complaining, but boy, if I was going to complain, that particular functionality kind of sucks. But anyways, when you're coming in, right, this is where you want to come in and to start finding people in FPDS and SAM. And just remember, you can do it even quicker by doing contracting opportunities. Here you can say the organization. So let's say, for example, I'm looking for the Army, and I know it's a little bit small, but I'm saying Department of Army there, right? If I come down and the dates, I might generally look the past couple of years right here to a custom date, right? Response date is the past couple of years. So I might look at 1/1/2022, let's just use that, to 10/1/2023, hit a tab on that so it's going. And then the notice type I'll leave blank for a second, but down here, I could come down and say, well, show me 8A sole source. Last time I did set aside, right? And I want to see inactive and active. So I just did that quick search again, just to show you when you back up. And here I've got 196 entries within SAM for just the Army, right? If you don't know this, the Army is the #1 agency for 8A small businesses, especially looking for direct awards. They did like $2 billion at the end of the fiscal year, generally at the end of the fiscal year. So go watch my previous video. In fact, go over here to the learning section right there. At the bottom is a whole 8A page where I have all this training related to 8A small businesses and how to succeed in there. But anyways, you can see all this traction within the Army. And I could have filtered it down one more time just to see if it matches my product. Let me do 541 512 this time, which is just another software one. That's interesting. There's almost nothing there. And these kind of things, when you do it, right, it's helping you understand the customer that you're working for. Let me see if 541-511 had something that had 2. This gets interesting to see how they're actually awarding their contracts. Oh, I got that one wrong. So this one's interesting, right? When you start looking at it, you start beginning to figure out who is buying what you sell. And when you do it, you come in and find those people's names at the very bottom. Again, there's always somebody's name you can track on. Okay, let me come back to this slide and just come back. Here's what I want you to remember from today's training, right? Is start with the contracting officers that love you. When you're doing outreach and you're going into a particular agency or multiple agencies, start by finding the contracting officers that are awarding contracts to sole source, direct 8A, or set aside to 8A. And then build the target list of those KOs or COs the way I showed you. Get their name and their email, go find their phone number, which generally you can find online, right? And begin to build a target list of 100 or 200 people. Then start reaching out and have this intro call where you're not just trying to drive right in and go, can I have a direct award? But you're just introducing your company. When you do that, you'll start seeing a lot more traction. Hey, if you're not already doing this, subscribe to my GovCon newsletter. I've got a lot of helpful information in there. One of the most recent things we've done is a long-range acquisition forecast. That's in the newsletter as well. Just go subscribe. It's here on LinkedIn. So just go to my profile and you see it somewhere at the top. And then if you haven't already, that networking event, I would love to meet you, right? I've been working these trainings a lot, and I see you in chat, and I try to chat with you, but I haven't seen you, right? And so if you can come to the chat or the networking event, I'd love to have you in there with us. And then if you're getting value from these trainings, which I know you are, at the time when you're ready, come join us as a sustaining member. The sustaining members are who help us make this possible across the entire country to help small businesses that are just getting started and doing 20, 30, 40 million. So come join us when you're ready. For everybody, just remember, government contracting, it's not a secret. It's just a process. I'll see you in the next training.